Well, welcome to this episode. I was quite sort of eager to come on this live to share the 7 vitals of being an extraordinary coach. Now, I'm quite excited and delighted to be sharing this because this is this goes beyond the ICF guidelines. Well, while you have the ICF guidelines, and this is for all coaches out there who would know what these guidelines are, this is really way beyond those guidelines. What the 7 vitals really draws on is my experience of over a decade, experimentations that happened, the successes, the setbacks, and tremendous feedback that I have been able to garner over the years of coaching global CEOs, leaders, senior executives in multinational corporates and large organizations. So, what I have realized over a period of time as I sort of formed these 7 vitals, which took a number of years, as you can see. I could have done this 5 years ago, but tell you what, I had no idea of such vitals 5 years ago. This is all learning through a lot of experience and a lot of feedback, as I said. So, the first vital that I want to share with you is the setting expectations and contracting. Mostly, in my early days as well, and through a number of conversations I have recently been having with the client organization or the sponsor organization of coaching, is that coaches normally, you would just want to be eager to jump into a session, get started, all of that. The organization perhaps has a requisition in terms of what are the development areas. So all that seems to be sorted out, and the organization seems to know really what the development area is. Yet, in my earlier days as well, I used to really jump into that session and wanted to get started, and probably believed somewhere down the line that the coaching journey will evolve. The expectations may change. Yet, over time, I realized how important actually contracting and setting expectations right at the onset is. Now, what I'm really saying here is, while the organization might say, XYZ is the development areas, or the leaders, contracting with the coachee and the organization in terms of confidentiality. So this is that vital, which is probably really critical. Now, in the absence of a very sound contract, it's like, laying topping on the surface of the coaching journey, yet not really sort of getting into the core areas. Now that really impacts the return on investment. Coming to the second vital. The second vital is conscious evolution and congruence of a coach. It's very important, I've noticed, for coaches themselves to have worked with their mental space, emotional space, over a period of time. I would go to the extent of saying, even before they see their first client, they would have spent number of hours, maybe months, weeks, what have you, with themselves. What are some of their beliefs that they're carrying, challenging those beliefs. How are they in certain spaces? How are they in certain environments? How are you as a coach? How do you respond to the environment of your coachee? So to have that stability, emotional stability, also energizes the coachee. What is the energy you are carrying? That's really important. So the question that probably one would ask as a coach is, how do you show up in that coaching space? How do you impact or affect the client? Now, I have to say this, and very honestly and candidly, a client will never know. A coachee will never know how they are getting affected by a coach's energy. Yet, for me, the reason it's a vital for a coach, considering that this profession is a critical profession, at least for the coachee. The coachee literally is actually laying their life and putting their life on you, like a harness. And for that harness to be strong is so important. The coachee presupposes it's strong. Yet, as a coach, I believe you've got to be really honest with yourselves and really, are you really there? Can you hold your space? What would you do in a situation that the client is in? To really work with all of that is so critical. Now, the third vital, as I see, is the confidence to be authentic and candid by quality questioning. What does that really mean? How do you calibrate to the coachees world? Now, if you are carrying our own biases as a coach, if we are carrying our biases, we already probably have had a corporate journey. How much of that are we bringing into the coaching space? That's very critical. That's the areas you want to really work with. Be totally with the coachees environment. Understand the coachees challenges and the coach's limitations in the environment, rather than try and say to the coach, you know what, I would have done this, or I have done this in the past. Now, we want to stay clear of that as coaches, very clear of that. So when you say calibrating, understanding the coach's emotional state. Friends, that's a question you'd want to really ask. Are you being true to the coaching at that time? So to have the courage to actually go out there and say, you know what, I think we need to probably postpone this session. Probably let's not have a session for about 3 weeks, because I am working with my own space. I am working with my own challenges. All of that is what makes you an extraordinary, authentic coach. Let's go to the fifth vital, as I see it. That's like holding your own and the coaching space. Now, when you say holding your own, again, it's about in the coaching journey, you would notice the contracting has happened. The focus areas are probably set in stone, as we see them. Yet, over years, invariably, at least in my experience, somehow down the line, priorities change. Goals could change. They could be a strategic change, or they could be an acquisition while the journey is on. What that does is that really changes the whole scenario for the coachee. The client now would want to be probably dealing with surfacing issues, dealing with issues that were not even contemplated upon as the coaching started. That's when, as a coach, to handle that turbulence, to enable the client to move from one track to the other, like as seamlessly as a fast sort of a high-speed train would do in changing tracks, as seamlessly in that. That can only happen if you as a coach can hold your own space, and that again takes you to your emotional awareness, your emotional stability. How much work have you done with your own inner self? Yeah. So these are interesting pieces. That's why for me, a coaching journey is such a journey of change and transformation for a coach as well. And the more conscious, I guess, as a coach you are, that's what makes you extraordinary. And not just extraordinary, that's when you're true to your coaching. That's when the return on investment are they individualistic, all of that. What are you in relation to those dimensions? Because we as coaches sometimes tend to bring our own biases, and those are the biases that limit the choices that we as coaches are actually supposed to present to coachees. For coaching is about presenting choices, presenting options. Now, if you yourself have limitations and biases against certain cultures, are you even going to take the coachee there? That's my point. So for a coach, again, to be true to the coaching, to have a high amount of awareness of cultures, different cultures, what are the nuances, how do they react, how do they respond, because you could be coaching people of many cultures. And if your behavior, if your presentation of options is the same for everybody, my dear friends and colleagues, the coaching is not going to be half as effective as it would if you were more aware of cultural. Who's working with me with huge perspective, with multiple perspective coming from many areas. Now imagine the value you would then bring to your coaching piece or coaching journey with a client when you share anecdotal experiences. How inspiring would that be? How authentic would that be? So I guess I'd leave it at this seventh vital, the seventh vital of traveler, explorer, adventurous person. How important is that? With all of that, there could be 10 other vitals actually. So what I really did was beyond what it is today, more holistic, more sort of innovative and all of that. Thank you very much for all of those who have been on this live episode. And